So class, I'm sure that by now you've heard the news that Caitlyn Jenner won the Glamour Woman of the Year award, so I thought that for today's class we would discuss it a bit. Would anyone like to start us off? I know at least a few of you probably have some pretty strong feelings about it, so now is the time to share them.
I don't think that he should have won it.
Why do you say that?
Because he is not even a real woman.
Would you care to explain?
Well, for one, he does not have an XX chromosome like all other women do. He also can't produce eggs from ovaries. He has an XY chromosome and testes. He was born a man and, therefore, is a man. Sorry I'm late. I caught the last part of that conversation though. So what would you say about the women of today who were born with XXY chromosomes? You know, those who were born intersex and now live as women. Well, they were not real women either. What would you have them live as then? Men? Or would you allow them to identify as something else entirely? Well, no. That's not right either, and they can't be anything other than men or women. That's all that there is. If you believe that, then what would you have them do then? What other options do they have? And what about women who have gone through menopause and can no longer produce eggs? I guess that the intersex people would have to choose one or the other, but that's different, and so are women who have gone through menopause. Bruce was born as a full-fledged man who decided to be a woman later in life. He does not know what it's like to live like a woman at all. The same is true for a lot of other trans people. Are you sure about that? Because I think I would have to argue the opposite. If a pre-op trans girl picked up a doll and started playing with it, people would probably denounce her as being girly and make her feel bad about doing it, just as they normally do with cisgender girls. Or if they were post-op or able to pass as the typical idea of what a woman looks like, then they're often subjected to catcalling, inappropriate sexual remarks, and a plethora of other awful things just like cisgender women are. In that respect, they experience just as much misogyny as any other woman does. Okay, that might be true, but they don't experience nearly as much violence or discrimination as real women do. Don't they though? As trans people, it's harder for them to find jobs, housing, healthcare, and a ton of other things. They also have to deal with the fact that any day that they walk out in typically female clothes, they might be bullied or harassed. Well, if they wanted to protect themselves, they could just go out in boy clothes. Isn't that kind of like saying that women should dress modestly to avoid the same kind of harassment? Yeah, I suppose you're right, in that way. Trans experiences are very similar to the ones that cisgender women face. Yes, but they are not exactly the same. Well, neither are any of the experiences that cisgender women have with misogyny. All of us are going to experience it differently based on a variety of different factors, and being trans is just one more of those. I guess you're right. Well then, if there is no way to clearly define a woman based on a biological basis nor on a social one, then what is there that could actually hinder trans women from being real women? You're right. I suppose that there is nothing. Exactly. To bring this back to Caitlyn specifically, this is not to say that you can't criticize her and her winning the award based on what she has or has not done as a trans woman for women or for the LGBTQIA community, but that you should not do it based on if you believe she is a real woman or not. Judge her based on what she has done, not based on what she identifies as.